The member for Wundaree.
Speaker, I rise today to speak in support of the Public Holiday Amendment Bill 2019. This is an important bill for Victorians to make provisions for certain public holidays, that being Easter Sunday, the Friday before the AFL Grand Final and Christmas Day when it falls on a Saturday or a Sunday. The Andrews Labor government has committed at the 2014 and the 2018 election to enshrine in legislation the aforementioned public holidays. I am proud to be supporting this legislation that delivers on those election commitments. I'd really like to thank the Minister for Local Government and Small Business for presenting this bill, and also thank the previous Minister in the 58th Parliament for his work on preparing the bill. The Public Holiday Amendment Bill is another example of how the Andrews Labor government is living its values and delivering its commitments for Victoria. This legislation enshrines the arrangements that are already in place. So in effect, we're locking in the status quo. By enshrining the public holidays of Easter Sunday, Christmas Day and Grand Final in law, we're also helping to protect the penalty rates of thousands of Victorian workers who are required to work on these days. I believe days like Christmas are a time to spend with family, friends and the people you love. But if you do have a job that requires you to work on that special day, your pay should recognise that sacrifice. It is only fair. I'd really like to take this opportunity to recognise the many people in our community who do work on public holidays and unsociable hours to protect us, to keep us safe, to care for us and to provide emergency services. Your contribution is so important and I thank you for your service. Without enshrining Christmas Day as a public holiday in law, we could, under another government, it could mean that when Christmas Day falls on a Saturday, which it will in a couple of years, Victorians like nurses, like firefighters, like police officers will not get paid penalty rates, right? But their colleagues who would then work on the substitute day on the Monday would, and that is not fair. So whilst there may be critics of the arrangements since they've been put in place, Victoria, as the previous speakers have clearly explained, has become the fastest growing economy. So we've got our levers right in terms of workers' rights, productivity, support for small business. We've got the mixture really good and that's why our economy is strong. This is a government that supports working Victorians. However, the public holidays we enjoy have only been acted via gazettal. To date, they are not law. This makes it easier to reverse them, impacting on important family time, work-life balance and preventing many who do working on these days from being compensated for it. And we know that these laws, these public holidays could be up for grabs. We've experienced it all before, and the member for Bayswater was just talking about his DeLorean experience back to 1993. But I actually am a bit older than the member for Bayswater. I was at uni in 1993 when Jeff Kennett was elected, and I remember Easter Saturday and Easter Tuesday and Melbourne Show being taken away from the Victorian community. It's also important to note that the Public Holidays Act does not interact with the Shop Trading Reform Act of 1996. Therefore, this bill is not going to impact on Victorian shop trading hours, which are defined as ordinary shop closing times in the Shop Trading Reform Act. As a daughter of a small business owner, we need to provide shop owners and small business operators with certainty. So let's be really clear. Victoria's restricting trading days will continue to only be Christmas, Good Friday and Anzac Day till 1 o'clock. But the other days are not impacted. And as many of you know, I am a history teacher, so I really like to have a think about where these public holidays come from. Why do we have them? What do these public holidays represent? And if you actually think about the public holidays, the 13 public holidays we celebrate in Victoria, it really does give some insights into our cultural values as a society, as well as reflecting historical events that are significant to us as a state and a nation. These are important days that should be enshrined in law, and this is what we're going to do. We start the year when we welcome in the new year on the 1st with a public holiday, and a few weeks later, we enjoy another public holiday as we mark Australia Day, although this is now quite contentious. Labor Day falls on the second Monday in March in honour of the movement for better working conditions and the 1856 campaign by the stonemasons at the University of Melbourne for an 8-hour working day. On the anniversary of Gallipoli in 1915, we honour not only those who served not only the service of the Anzacs in the Great War, but all the Australian men and women who have served our nation in times of war and peace. We celebrate the Queen's birthday as a public holiday on the second Monday in June in recognition of our Sovereign's birthday, although some Republicans, like me, might prefer that we have a separate celebration for something else about us as a nation. And in Melbourne and other parts of Victoria, on the first Tuesday in November, there is a public holiday for the race that stops a nation, the Melbourne Cup. I note that in Ballarat we've previously enjoyed a public holiday for the Ballarat Cup, but in more recent years the City of Ballarat has nominated Ballarat Show Day in November for our public holiday. Reflecting the Christian traditions of many Australians, we mark the most significant Christian festivals of Christmas and Easter with public holidays. However, Christmas Day and Easter Sunday were not properly protected. And no matter what your faith, or if you have no religion at all, these are great days where you can celebrate with your family and spend time with your friends. The changes that we will introduce with this bill will allow Victorians from across the state the time to celebrate these important dates in our calendar with family and friends. These public holidays are a reflection of many of the traditional values and what contributes to who we are. Therefore, what a great idea it is also to have a public holiday for the Friday before the AFL Grand Final in a state that is the home of Aussie rules. The Andrews Labor government is proud to support Grand Final Friday. But it's not just for footy fans. It's a chance for Victorians to spend time with family and friends, and a big boost for businesses and tourism operators across our state. And for those Victorians who are required to work, we'll look after you too. The legislation will be protected as a public holiday in law. I am certainly looking forward to Grand Final Friday this year, and I will be attending this year's Grand Final parade with Mike, Joe and Sophia to cheer on our Geelong Cats on the eve of this year's Grand Final. I can't think of a better way to spend the last Friday than watching all the Cats coming up Collins Street on the night before they win the flag. And I'm sure, as it was suggested by the member for Bulleen, that Melbourne would be a ghost town on that day, but I'm actually a bit more worried about Geelong being a ghost town as tens of thousands of passionate supporters make their way up their highway to Melbourne to support the mighty Cats. Working families want certainty about their work rosters to make holidays plans and manage their work-life balance. These amendments will assist these people by allowing them greater certainties for Victorians to work their rosters and plan their holidays for the forthcoming year. I have always enjoyed working and having a job, and believe that public holidays are very important to working Victorians. This bill enshrines in laws 3 public holidays: Easter Sunday, Grand Final Day and Christmas. I particularly loved working in retail. As a casual and as a part-timer, where I was a member of the SDA while I was at school and university. My retail work included working at Thomas Jewellers in Ballarat, an Easter casual at Darrelly in Chadstone, and a long-time part-timer at Myer Melbourne for 5 years. My part-time contracted hours of work at Myer were across Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. Easter Sunday was not a public holiday, therefore I was required to work as per my contract. So whilst my family in Ballarat celebrated Easter together, I was required to be at work in Melbourne. I believe that making Easter Sunday a public holiday is important to allow many Victorians to celebrate Easter with their families and friends, and I think this is fair and reasonable. I am proud to support the Public Holiday Amendment Act 2019, as this legislation will give working people certainty in the future as we enshrine Easter Sunday, the Friday before the AFL, and Christmas when it falls on a Saturday and Sunday, making sure they are permanently protected. Hard-working Victorians do deserve these holidays. We promised to lock these public holidays in 2014 and again at 2018. So I am so pleased to be a part of the 55 members of this government and have the opportunity to deliver another election commitment to our community. I commend this bill to the House.